Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to another edition of the Movie Battleground. My name is Aaron Knoll, and we are back here for another debate. And these are there goes my headphones. These are the types of matches that I love being a part of because obviously we are in the midst of our tournament right now. We have the best of the best 16 top competitors going at each other every single week to try and make it to that title match. But as we're winding down the season, it's also a great time to get some matches to people who have not had the chance to play as much or in certain cases at all. And that is what we are doing here today. We have Ryan Payne, who has played a couple exhibition matches throughout the year, but officially his record is only 0-1, having lost previously to Alex Martinez. And he will be taking on a debutant in the Battleground, Dean Lewis, who will be joining us for the first time as a competitor or judge. This is his first time being a part of the league in any type of way. So it's always exciting to have some outside faces come in. Ryan obviously has a little more experience on his plate, and he'll be hoping that that goes his way to try and get his first victory on the board. But of course, nothing is bigger for somebody than getting a win on their debut. And with literally, in terms of the league, zero experience to judge him on, can Dean be the outsider that shocks the experienced player? With that said, let's talk to the competitors. And introducing first, making his Movie Battleground debut, coming in obviously with a record of 0 wins, 0 defeats, he is Dean Lewis. Dean, welcome to the Battleground, sir. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good. No wins, no defeats, means no expectations. And
that's true.
I like to hear you say you got the best of the best in the tournament. So if that's not what you're looking for, you come to the right place. So
there we go.
Let's get it on.
Set the bar, right? So yeah, you're here, man. The way that you became involved was essentially through Facebook. One of the competitors in the league, I'll admit it was a very odd, inadvertent plug, but they plugged the league on the Schmodown page as that was coming to an end, and I decided to throw a comment on there saying, hey, this is what he's talking about. And we earned a couple of views through that as well, which thank you to all of you who are here watching because of that, because the views have gone up. I do keep track. But we also earned a player through it. So, Dean, I'm excited to have you here, sir, coming all the way from this late hour in the UK. And that actually works because it'll be not long before this. It'll be uploaded. So I will go ahead and sit you in the back as I bring in your opponent. Coming in with a record of no wins, 1 defeat, he is the Caramel Mountain, Ryan Payne. Ryan, welcome back, sir. How are you feeling tonight?
Well, I'm feeling as good as I can be, honestly. With debate, regardless on how much I prep or how much I practice what I'm going to say, anything can change once the timer hits. So I'm going to come in here with just an even keel energy. And yeah, sure, I have a loss, but at the same time, I'm not trying to raise my expectations. I know what I'm doing, and I may know nothing about Dean going up against him, but I think that kind of works because then we can try to feel each other out as we're debating.
Absolutely. And we can't cross any legal barriers. You are in 2 totally different places. So it's the best kind of feeling out, for me at least. So with that said, Ryan, thank you for being here again, man. I'm going to go ahead and bring Dean back in, and we'll go ahead and get into this. Movie Battleground is a game that is a best of 5 rounds. It is the first to 3 points will win the match. Each round of debate is worth 1 point. If a competitor happens to get the first 3 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. If after 4 rounds it is tied 2-2, we will move on to our tiebreaker, the blind round, although we will only make the competitors worry about that hell to come if we should need to. With that said, in terms of the 4 questions they were given, they've had their time to prep as much as we can allow at least. They will get 60 seconds to open up their argument. That will be followed by a 2-minute period of them to speak by themselves, explain their arguments, maybe go after their opponent's choice, whatever they choose to do. That will be followed by a 4-minute open discussion period where they'll trade barbs back and forth and try and get in as many points as possible. And they will get 60 seconds to close out their argument, finally summarizing and finishing everything up. With that said, behind the scenes, I have 3 judges, Chris, Austin, and Richie. They will join us on screen following the discussion, at which point they will decide, based on what was said in the argument, who gets the victory. With all that said, Ryan, Dean, do you guys have any questions? Are we ready to go?
Let's do it.
Oh, good to go.
All right. So we're going to start these guys off by throwing them a question that was previously used, as this is a replay question. I've already thrown this out in a previous match, or maybe it'll be in an immediately future match. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what order these upload in at the moment. But Tom Cruise is a man who is currently on top of the world. So let's take a dump on him just a little bit. The question that we're reusing is, what is Tom Cruise's worst film of the 1990s? Now, this was a question that was previously used actually in a match with some competitors who at the time had a bit of a lesser record. This was given to Alan Shepard and David Garcia. It was a blind round question in their sudden death from that match. And on the blind round, they chose a few good men and Mission Impossible, which arguably might be two of his best from the 90s. So, that turned out to be a fun debate. Go check that match out if you want to see it. You can search it on the channel. But these guys have had a chance to actually pick some shit from the 90s that Tom Cruise was in. And I think there's going to be some interesting discussion here. With that said, behind the scenes, because Ryan is the more experienced competitor, he was given the edge of being the favorite, which means he got nothing except to choose when to go first on. He was going first on 2 and 4, which means, Dean, you have the honor of leading off the first minute of your first question. So I'm going to go ahead and bring your guys' timer back in. I'm going to wish you guys both the best of luck on a great debate. That's how that's said. And Dean, you have 1 minute on the clock. Time starts once you begin speaking.
So this is perfect. First is the absolute worst. Okay, this movie is the most cliche, meandering piece of garbage that I've ever seen. Okay, we've got Tom Cruise trying to play against type, but in reality, he just comes off as awkward. We lose all of the charisma and all of the qualities that we know Tom Cruise for. This is just, it's like Lord of the Rings with none of the good stuff. Even John Williams, I had to look this up while watching this. John Williams does the score for this. And even John Williams is phoning it in with this cliche Irish pan flute theme that just plays throughout the whole thing. This movie's like a SNL parody of Back to the Future 3. It is the absolute most utter just nonsense that I've ever seen. Nothing happens. He's awkward with Nicole Kidman. There's no chemistry, as we found out later on in their personal lives. There's no chemistry. There's nothing good about this film. That's it.
And time. And just in case the hints didn't give it away because he didn't actually say the title, his answer is Far and Away.
Good point.
All good, man. All good. First time. Far and Away is his
I've been
answer.
thinking about this for so long, I assume that everyone would know.
No. So they do not know your answers in order to keep any pre-thought out of their mind. So they're completely impartial to what you say. All right, Ryan, back over to you, sir. You got an opening minute. Can you shit on Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's personal lives?
Not if I could try. I can't judge them. I mean, I could, but I can't.
I'll give you those 2 seconds back. When you're ready, sir.
As far as Tom Cruise filmography goes in the 90s, he has a pretty good record, personally, in my opinion. Some films, they're kind of bland. Some films do shoot out of the park. But my choice for one of his worst films in the 90s, honestly, when you look at this movie on rewatch, really shows that this is kind of a film that Tom Cruise actually was kind of phoning in, and that is Days of Thunder. As much as I like a good sports drama, a film that's about NASCAR racing, it's pretty much a by-the-books kind of film. You know, you got an upstart rookie coming in, he's hot-headed, he's hungry, he's ambitious, but then, of course, along the way, he develops a rivalry, he gets humbled, but then falls into his old ways. It's pretty much like your regular sports drama. With Tom Cruise involved, you think you're going to get yourself a very exciting performance out of him, but the truth is, I've seen exciting performances out of Tom Cruise and from stuff in the 80s. So seeing this in the 90s, this feels to me that this was not something he just phoned in, but something he was just playing by the numbers. And giving the cast that he has here says enough, but I'm going to rescind my time. I'm going to stop here.
All right, Dean, back over to you, sir. You have 2 more minutes to yourself when ready.
So you said it yourself, okay? He starts out, he's the hotshot rookie, and then he becomes humble. That means there's a character arc, okay? In this, they're just rolling around in the grass for like 2+ hours. In the 90s, 2+ hours. They did this to us on VHS, okay? They did that, okay? Look at this man. He's never eaten a potato in his life. Look at that jawline. Okay, I'm supposed to believe that this is just some Irish peasant. This is Tom fucking Cruise. and he stands out like a sore thumb. You've got this whole movie populated with these British character actors that nobody knows who they are. I don't even know who they are. Take my card away. I don't care if it wins me this match. Okay. And then you've got Tom Cruise plonked in the middle of all these ugly ass English character actors. It just doesn't work on every level that you can look at it, from the score to the performance. You know, who cares what the story is? He breaks up with Nicole Kidman. He meets Nicole Kidman. He gets together with Nicole Kidman. There's no chemistry whatsoever between these two. He just looks like he's trying to be like all awkward and goofy. He just looks constipated. He just looks constipated. It's just, you know, it's, this film made barely any money. You know, this is Ron Howard. Ron Howard, who does historical epics, and this is just a period of history where nothing happens. Like, what a waste. What a waste of a director. The film just feels like it's more important than it is. Even Roger Ebert called it simplistic and shallow and simple-minded. There's just nothing to this movie. It wants you to think there's substance to it, but there's not. Just like a potato.
And time. All right, Ryan, back over to you. 2 minutes on the clock.
I still do believe that Days of Thunder is kind of one of the worst performances from Tom Cruise because, I mean, if you want to talk about director, if this was Ron Howard, how he's a fan of historical dramas, Tom Cruise reunites with Tony Scott, the same director he worked with Top Gun, that made Tom Cruise an even bigger star. So knowing that he had Tony Scott coming as a director, Hans Zimmer as a composer, the first time he and Nicole Kidman are together on screen, he has Robert Duvall, Randy Quaid, Carrie Elways, and Michael Rooker as a great supporting, and John C. Reilly also as a great supporting cast behind him. And the fact that out of all of them, they have better personalities on screen compared to Tom Cruise. Yes, he does a by the numbers rookie, but given now this is Tom Cruise, how you've seen how he can play an arrogant, egotistical rookie in Top Gun, you're kind of going in expecting to see a similar type of energy here. But instead, he plays his character Cole as if he's just sitting back. Like he kind of plays him like a stereotype of millennials nowadays, you know, lazy, just waiting for something easy to come by. I mean, I'm a millennial myself, so I can take that as a personal insult to myself as well. But I would still take the performance he gave in Far and Away over this one, because at least in Far and Away, yeah, you were right. He's like a fish out of water in there. You can at least see he's trying. The only time Tom Cruise has ever standing up for himself in Days of Thunder is when he has to do those dramatic moments of him not being able to stand up properly for the medical scenes, or when he's confronting Michael Rooker of wanting to get neurosurgery, because guess what? He's only playing a part that's meant to add to the drama for Michael Rooker's character, not himself. So one thing I can say about this film that makes it bad was not only is it bland for Tom Cruise, but it really adds nothing of value for his character going in. You kind of care more about the other people in this movie than himself. And I'll just stop here.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and go into the 4-minute open discussion. As a reminder to both players, so you guys are going to be going back and forth. You're going to be, kind of trading points back and forth. Don't overhog the time. Give the other competitor some chance to speak, and try not to talk over each other as much as possible. But things get heated. You're trying to win. So there's a fine line. I'm sure you guys will find it. And if not, I'll step in. But thankfully, I don't have to often. With that said, the timer will start when the first person speaks.
So listen, I would take Tom Cruise phoning it in something that is well suited to him than him trying to do something that he definitely can't. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the worst.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, sure, Tom Cruise. Hello. Oh,
we good.
Okay, sorry.
You're good. I paused the clock for a sec.
Oh, okay. I thought I froze for a second. Did I freeze?
Nope, you're all good.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready to start again.
When ready, good.
Okay, you do You are right that sometimes it is better to watch Tom Cruise doing phone-in performance, but Tom Cruise is an actor, and as an actor, sometimes he has to take those risks outside of what he's done, what he can do. Otherwise, we don't. He won't never know what kind of range he has. Sure, Far and Away is the one performance that does stick out like a sore thumb and is bad, but at least I'm seeing Tom Cruise is trying in this film. He is trying to at least be convincing with that Irish accent, even though it is not, because he is, but I will still take a convincing. I will still take Tom Cruise trying over Tom Cruise phoning it in because as far as I have seen from pop culture, we kind of remember more of the actors who are trying and fail more than the actors who just phone it in and keep going.
No, Tom Cruise is not an actor. Tom Cruise is a movie star. Okay, he's a sociopath who's good at sports, right? Him not trying means he can just focus in, he can run, he can fly, he can drive. Okay. He doesn't even need to try to do all of that stuff. It just comes naturally to him. Okay, you give him a cool hat and a jacket and any vehicle or no vehicle, but a car, he's giving impassioned speeches in this movie, which is things that we come to love from, like, you know, that military lawyer movie and all of
Oh,
that
you
other
can admit,
stuff.
yeah.
This brings all of the elements of Tom Cruise that you want. Even if the movie isn't that good, it builds off of the legacy of who Tom Cruise had become at that point, and it just uses that to fuel the movie. And it's just an A to B action ride.
Yeah, and there is some points to what you're saying that Tom Cruise is a movie star, but earlier on in his career, he was an actor in the 80s. It's why he was doing performances like he did in Risky Business, Top Gun. And I will say, the moment he won a few performances, one movie I can say that he was being an actor was Born on the 4th of July, where he was playing a Vietnam vet who became a quadriplegic. That's Tom Cruise going out there being an actor. Now, I'm not saying Far and Away is in the same league as that film, but this is Tom Cruise once again taking a project, knowing that this was Ron Howard attached to it, reworking again with Nicole Kidman. So you had two people that most likely could play off of Tom Cruise. And there are some scenes in Far and Away that I actually do see Tom Cruise being an actor. One scene is after he loses that boxing fight. He and Nicole Kidman are thrown out on the streets, them trying to stay warm together. I do see some good chemistry and a good performance between the two of them there, more than I see it earlier on in Days of Thunder when they first meet, where it's more of, oh, I think you're a doctor. Oh, no, you must be a stripper. So I'm just going to have you play around with me. Oh, no, you're a doctor. Oh, no, I'm such an idiot. That's like that plays more into the by the books of what Days of Thunder was.
Okay, first of all, Tom Cruise didn't even try in Born on the 4th of July. He barely even moved. All right. So I haven't even talked about his accent in this movie. Okay. You ever heard the most cliche Irish fucking leprechaun cereal commercial Irish accent that you've ever heard? And you want me to listen to that for 2.5 hours against all these other actors who are doing the accents and who are nailing their characters perfectly? It just drags it down that much harder.
At least you'll
That's
know
all I'm
how
saying.
not to do it. At least you'll know how not to do it.
And if anybody happens to have that connection, please don't show Tom Cruise this. I don't want to get blackballed. With that said,
I'll
have
stand
1
by it. I'll
minute.
say all of this to his face.
I believe it too. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get to the 1 minute closings. Dean, you are back up first, sir. You have 1 minute left on the round when ready.
So Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder, okay, he's isolated, he's insecure, which he must be because he's a rich lunatic who can't relate to a human being. So I believe that there's stakes both in the car and outside of the car with the personal relationships, and even if this movie isn't good, it's a pop culture icon. Days of Thunder, everyone knows what that is. It's like one down from Top Gun, on a scale of 2, right? It's got an early score from Hans Zimmer. Not a lot of people talk about that. So that's fun, even if you're just like looking at it from a history of like blockbusters kind of standpoint. It's got all these elements in it. You've got Tina Turner on the soundtrack. Elton John on the soundtrack. Come on. I've got 10 seconds left. Did I say that you've got Elton John on the soundtrack? You've got Turner on the soundtrack? That's it.
All right. And that's time. Again, first time player, just so you know, if in the event you think you've said everything you want to say, you can just give up the rest of your time, no problem.
Why would I do that?
I respect that too. Ryan, you have a minute left on the clock, sir, when ready.
Bringing up the fact that Tina Turner and Elton John was on the soundtrack and Hans Zimmer composed the score, just once again just reiterates what I'm saying, that you have so many other great elements of Days of Thunder, like really trying to make this movie very memorable as a sports drama. And then you have Tom Cruise just going by the book, pretty much like being he's being like NASCAR. He's just going in one track, running circles. I would rather have Tom Cruise try to experiment, try to go outside of his comfort zone. So then if it doesn't pan out, guess what? We know exactly what he's not good at. Maybe he can improve and get better at it over time, because I'm seeing Tom Cruise. He may not be recreating the Irish accent, but he's doing what he did before with taking risks, like doing more experimental roles. He experimented when he did Rock of Ages. He experimented when he did Tropic Thunder. I mean, not to say that there's no influence, that him being a creative actor from far and away can't tell you that at least he is trying to go outside of his normal range.
And time. All right, guys, a great first debate. I'm going to go ahead and sit you both in the back and bring the judges on screen. There is no real fact checking because it's late on some of our competitors' ends, and I'm not trying to spend the whole night here. But I do, looking at the camera, I want to issue Mr. Cruz an apology. I would love to take one of those big fat checks that you signed someday. So please know that the views of those competing do not reflect the views of those of us who run the show. I'll jump on a couch. I'll leave Nicole Kidman at an AMC theater. I would never get her in real life, whatever it takes to do it. With that said, Chris, before I give you a heart attack, I'm going to go over to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the selling point?
So I think with the one that actually did bring up the example, we're going to go with Ryan on this one. I just felt he brought an example of Days of Thunder not working, and he defended far away the Nicole Kidman stuff. I just think Dean focused a little bit too much on Tom Cruise as a person and didn't bring a lot of good example.
Okay, Austin, I go down to you. Who gets your vote?
I can appreciate Dean making us guess the movie based on context clues, because we're all trivia players. So the Tom Cruise, John Williams thing, I appreciated. I had to kind of guess. But yeah, I was kind of in the same boat. I went with Ryan. I think Dean went too far down a rabbit hole, just crapping on Tom Cruise as a person. Ryan kind of stuck to the argument, stuck to the things, and hit on the actual movie a little bit more, both pros and cons of both of them. So yeah, I went with Ryan.
All right. Well, guys, Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back and bring the competitors back in as we go ahead and move on to question number 2. And I'm going to start this off by saying, Dean, how do you feel about our person this time? Better? We feel a little better about this one?
Yeah, I like this question a lot more, and I like this movie a lot more. So, and I'll tell you what it is when we get to it.
Well, fair enough. Well, a movie that a lot of people aren't liking that this actor was just in is Amsterdam, which apparently, as far as I'm aware, is failing at the box office currently. We are recording this in its opening weekend, and I believe it is failing.
No, I've not seen it yet.
So with that said, the question is, what is that there shouldn't be a there. What is Christian Bale's best film? Is the question. What is Christian Bale's best film? And with that said, Ryan, I'm going to give it to you first this time. Time starts when you begin speaking.
In my previous round, I talked about how Tom Cruise was reunited with Tony Scott for a film that he had already done before Top Gun. With Christian Bale, the film I'm picking is a film that not only is he reuniting with Chris Nolan, but it's also a film that he's also reigniting with a familiar actor he's worked with, Michael Caine. And the film I'm talking about is The Prestige. This film came out about a couple years after Batman Begins, during the time when Chris Nolan and Michael Caine had become very familiar with Christian Bale. So when Christian Bale came back in, he had familiar players, familiar people to work with in this film. He had Hugh Jackman involved. He had, and also with Scarlett Johansson in the cast, and Rebecca Hall. This film is a good a very good look into the work of magicians during the time of the early early era in London, where you were seeing two musicians broken apart by tragedy competing against each other, and the lengths they'll go to in order to top one of each, to be able to upstage each other. And Bale and Hugh Jackman, I'll say it's one of their best performances during
And time.
Damn it.
All right, Dean, back over to you, sir. Your opening minute.
Oh man, see what you did there was you highlighted one of the big flaws of that movie was Michael Caine getting too comfortable with Christopher Nolan. It's boring. He just expositions the whole time. Anyway, the movie I'm talking about is American Psycho, which is hands down the best Christian Bale performance of all time. That movie is just scathing satire, the pop culture, the references, everything works perfectly for the period in the 80s. It works for today. Talk about the soundtrack. You got Whitney Houston, Huey Lewis, Phil Collins, New Order. It's insane. Witty dialogue all the way through. Not even talking about like the horror, the tension, like the mystery of like how much of this is going on. You know, this movie has everything. Great food, great suits, great cinematography. It just looks incredible. Everyone is beautiful. How can you not love this movie? It's got everything you would ever want from a movie.
And time. All right, so we have The Prestige, which is what Tom Cruise would describe himself as, versus American Psycho, which is what Dean would describe Tom Cruise as. But in actuality, they're both great films. Let's see which one is better. Ryan, you have 2 more minutes on the clock to continue your points.
It's easy not to like American Psycho because one thing I can take away from is that there are people who are getting the wrong message out of this film. That like you do bring up good points what American Psycho does, Dean. But the thing is that there are some people who watch American Psycho and think that this movie is trying to paint this culture that Christian Bale's character is a part of as something lavish and something to look up to. When it's not until they have to start realizing or people point out to them, it's poking fun. It's satirizing it. With The Prestige, Chris Nolan makes it very simple. Yes, there's a lot of exposition involved because you're delving into the world of music, of magicians, of the tricks and the illusions they have to create in order to fool their audiences. Like the whole film from start to finish feels like a big magic trick that they're trying to unwind and dissect and deconstruct in front of us. Are the exposition points going to come in? Of course, because then when you see a trick being planned to its execution, you do see how it easily takes just one moment, something stupid or something foolish to ruin it. That's why in the montage you see between Danton and Christian Bale's character, Belfort, I'm not going to waste my time on that. You do see how they spend a lot of time constructing great illusions to make for audience performances, but then guess what? They each get in each other's way by destroying that illusion, ruining their reputations to where they keep going further and further apart, dragging their drama down to where it's so to a side of self-destruction. You see how Jackman's character self-destructs because he lost his wife and it drives him near to the brink of framing Christian Bale for murder. You see Christian Bale's character who is so obsessed with being the best musician that it destroys his marriage, it destroys a relationship, and nearly costs him his daughter. And then when we see the big twist, he was a twin, though he's playing two characters. So you do see that not only just one life was ruined, but multiple lives were destroyed, and it's all told in a very simplistic narrative dialogue. And yes, the exposition may drag, but they are key to the moment of the story. So when we watch it now,
and time. All right, Dean, back over to you, sir. 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay, so nobody is out there in today's world emulating Wall Street murderers. Okay, that's just not the world we're living in. Patrick Bateman's not some quibby shooter. Okay, on the streets. Okay, the deconstruction of Wall Street has happened a long time since then. So we've seen that the tides turn on that culture. You know, eat the rich is a very common expression that is used. You know, people are finally starting to turn on these 1% celebrity culture, you know, this hard, fast living lifestyle. People do not like it. And you pointed out the biggest flaw in The Prestige. They explain every trick to the nth degree. It's just, it not only does it suck all the magic out of everything that you're seeing, it also is just boring and just mind numbing. It's just Michael Caine, like I said, exposition. You know, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale just don't vibe. It's just not, it's just classic Nolan wants you to think it's just so deep and it's just a gimmick, which I guess is in theme with the movie because it's magic and it's just all gimmick, but that's just not satisfying, you know? And, talk about slap David Bowie in the face. I mean, come on, Tesla, really? It's just not happening. It's just, this movie's so long, and the twist and the whole crux of this movie is based on is just senseless. It comes out of nowhere, and it's just nothing that anyone would do just for the sake of it being something that you didn't think of because it doesn't make sense. That's not foreshadowing. It's not a good twist. It's not good storytelling.
And time. All right, so we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer starts when the first person speaks.
I do want to say, Dean, that the twist of Christian Bale's character being revealed to be a twin, it may look like it's something out of left field, but it's more. But when you go and rewatch this film and you know that twist coming in, you do start to. It starts to play into the whole thing. Chris Nolan likes to do is really play with the mind here. So then you get moments where you see Christian Bale's character where you don't know if it's actually the magician on stage or if it's the twin. Like them switching back and forth between Fallon and Borden, you really can never tell which one's actually up there doing the trick, who's the one married to Rebecca Hall, who's the one seducing Scarlett Johansson. Like that whole thing is undercutting. It undercuts a lot, but it really plays into the whole thing that Hugh Jackman says at the end. The audience knows that it's not real. They know from going in that it's an illusion, but they want to be fooled. They want to believe for 1 second that magic exists. And yes, the exposition might seem like it's overcutting everything, but it's pretty much trying to give you every information, wanting you to believe that you're tricking yourself into believing it's real.
It's not tricking me that it's real because the whole time I'm just thinking, right, the core mechanic that this whole trick is based on is just so ridiculous. Like the logistics that would have to go into that to make that work in a movie that is, on one hand, it's trying to make me believe that can work, but on the other hand, it's trying to be like this fantastical, magical adventure, and it's just not hitting me hard enough either way to really to make me care. It's just everyone's terrible. Nobody's playing to their strengths. Would you go and see Christian Bale as a magician? No, he's the American Psycho. He's a crazy lunatic. That's intense. Hugh Jackman's having a great time, but that's all it is Hugh Jackman having a great time. I do not buy any kind of gravity from his performance at all. I'm sorry, Hugh, but just go back to growling and slicing or Broadway. You can't do this middle level of magical drama that I'm supposed to invest in at all. I just.
Well, I mean, I understand where you're coming from here, but this is where they're grounded in a reality during the time of Victorian London, to where people are kind of shitty. People are not like really. They're really upfront about it. They're not hiding behind it in falsities. It pretty much it strips down everything for Nolan to tell a basic story. Now with American Psycho, it is good when you watch it, but on the first go, it is easy to misinterpret some of the things that's being done in this film. It looks like it's trying to put the Wall Street lifestyle on a high platter. All these fads, all these ways that his character and everyone else in this film are trying to stay on top, give this false sense of like fancy and love lavishness. So when the moments where you see Christian Bale just like go crazy, yes, it's meant to shock you. But when you go on this movie on a rewatch, it takes away everything from the mystique you had going in on the first time. But at least with The Prestige, I can at least go in trying to see if there's more layers to this film. For American Psycho, it's more like someone needs to explain to me what the heck's going on. And it's a complete contrast between our two films. That's one thing I can say. one film is carrying our hand while another film is pretty much like, here's the pieces, let's see you figure it out. And I don't know. It just seems to me I was taking more in with The Prestige than I was with American Psycho.
How am I supposed to invest in Christian Bale if I don't know which character I was watching at any particular moment? That's all I'm going to say.
And time. All right, we have 1 minute left on the round for each of you. Ryan, you are back up first. When ready.
One thing Chris Nolan likes to do as a director is to really tell like very broad and engaging movies. And given his filmography, you can tell that he's always had an idea going in on there. With The Prestige, Christian Bale, he's given something that, while we are seeing him do more and more taking risks as an actor, but this was one of the times where I'm seeing him not as Batman, not as Patrick Bateman, or not as any character he's played before. This is Christian Bale trying to play a person, not down to, but an actual person trying to, maintain a livelihood, trying to maintain, perform something that he loves. I can almost see his performance as Borden being a magician, being obsessed with trying to pull off the greatest trick, as Bale being an actor, trying to give off the best performance there. It feels very like two sides of the same coin here, to where I can see Bale is trying to put more of his energy and love into this film than I do see him with American Psycho, where he's just playing a character. And I receive my time.
All right, and then Dean, you have the final minute of the round. When ready.
Okay, so I want to talk about the costumes. Okay, The Prestige has all these cheap, Amdram theatre costumes, all these frilly collars and all these just long coats and all this stuff. American Psycho hones in, it's period perfect. All the details of all the brands, all the tailors, all the references, all the restaurants, everything is just boiled down to a perfect T. Okay. Also, it quadrupled its budget. Your movie only doubled its budget. So I'm just going to throw that in there as well. Like I say, it's got everything you want. Suspense, it's got horror, it's got comedy, it's got romance in its way. It's got tense action as the film progresses to the crescendo at the end. Your movie kind of just sets along at the same pace the whole way through and just drops more information on you to make it seem more than it is.
And time. All right, guys. Another good round there. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys on the back and bring our judges in for their deliberations. Austin, I'm going to head up to you first, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Yeah, this was a much closer round. I actually went with Dean. I thought Dean both pointed out the stuff about his movie that was great, but also really attacked Prestige really hard. If Ryan had gone after American Psycho a little more, rather than the 1 point he kept hitting on, I would have gone with him. But I thought Dean was a little more balanced, so I went with Dean.
All right, and then Richie, down to you.
Yeah, I actually ultimately went with Ryan. I thought he, I thought, yeah, like he, I just felt like I until the end, I didn't think I did hear enough about the knocking on American Psycho, yeah, like why American Psycho is the better movie as opposed to Prestige. He did knock Prestige a lot, but it wasn't until the end that I didn't hear that. So I just wanted to hear more. So I went with Ryan.
Okay, and then Chris, over to you.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same with Richie a little bit and with Ryan Mel. It was even, but I just heard more about Defendant Prestige than why American Psycho is great as it is. I did hear examples for the film, a bunch of things. But Dean did a much better job this time around.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and put you in the back and bring the competitors in as we will go ahead and move on to question number 3. And it's a perfect segue from American Psycho, because if you've never seen American Psycho, I'm sure the only thing you know about is the fact that Christian Bale murders people in a very psychotic way. So let's talk about death. The question is, what is the best kill in a horror film? And with that said, we're going to just go straight into it. Dean, you are back up first, sir, on this one. So I will go ahead and give you the timer, and it will start when you begin speaking.
This is so easy. The kill that I'm choosing is something that everyone will know, and it's Johnny Depp in the original Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Now, this, aside from being kind of topically relevant. And let's face it, we all kind of want to see that right now, for the most part. And if you don't, you should, right? But this kill in this movie encapsulates the very theme of the movie. This is a kid, this is a teenager, he's listening to his music, he's watching his trashy TV, and he falls asleep in his bed, and he literally gets sucked into his bed to never return. This is just the trashy, lazy teenager getting what's coming to him. And I'll elaborate more on that in the next part, because this is the best movie kill of all time.
All right. So we got Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny Depp's death. Ryan, over to you, sir.
I went with a horror kill that entertained me more in a way that kind of surprised me on how funny, and also kind of in a way I was surprised how this character didn't keep killing people like that in the same way, and that is the knockout punch decapitation from Jason Takes Manhattan that Jason does in the character of Julius on a rooftop in New York. That scene there, it's kind of entertained me because first off, this movie bad, not representing this movie, because this movie was grinded down by the ratings association to not try to feature so much gore in here. So when that moment came where Jason is in a rooftop fight against Julius, Jason pretty much taking every hit from him, and Julius tires himself out. He says, "Give me your best shot." All Jason does is grabs his collar and then winds up back, boom, decapitates his head, and you see it, the camera onto it as it's falling down into a trash can, and that head is later used as a prop to scare more people into more kills.
And time. All right. Dean, back over to you, sir. 2 minutes when you're ready.
See, to me, it sounds like the cool thing about your kill is that it just kind of comes out of nowhere and a dude punches a dude's head off. Great. So in Nightmare on Elm Street, this is set up through the whole movie. You've got this whole thing going with Johnny Depp's character and his headphones. He's always listening to his music. His mum's always telling him not to fall asleep with the headphones on. This is just slowly seeded throughout the movie. And then when it finally happens, it just feels like this payoff that you never knew you needed until you got it. Whereas Jason, yeah, he takes a dude's head off. I thought about picking a Jason kill. The problem is they're all the same. The dude doesn't say anything. He either just takes your head off or he sticks a spike in you. It's just one or the other. These two Jason kills. All of the Freddy kills, I know I'm not talking about all of the other ones, but they're just so creative, across the board. And this one was like the original one that started it all, from the in-camera practical effects. You've got the whole room they built on a gimbal. They flipped it round. They pulled Johnny Depp into the floor there. Then they just poured a bucket of blood out the hole once they spun the room round the other way. Like, all of this stuff actually happened. The Jason kill is all just a quick edit and a balloon with a wig, and some blood. There's just no creativity to it whatsoever. Decapitations happen all the time. How many times have you seen somebody literally sucked into the one place that you're supposed to feel comforted and comfortable and safe, and it becomes that, it becomes your literal grave? Time.
All right. So, Ryan, we'll go back over to you, sir. You got 2 minutes on the clock when you're ready.
First off, the decapitations are actually great. It's one of the reasons why these are kind of staple kills in horror franchises. Now, with Jason versus Manhattan, I said before, this movie was grinded down, chopped apart by the Ratings Association, because around this time, every Jason film was always ramping up to becoming more gorier, more simple, straightforward kills. Yes, he stabs somebody, he shoves something down someone's neck, he cuts somebody and pokes out from them, because those are interesting kills. You want to talk about a kill where someone's supposed to be safe in the bed and then gets killed? How about in the first Friday the 13th, when Kevin Bacon, he's just lying in bed, then all of a sudden he's grabbed on top of his head, and a fish hook comes out of his neck while he's just sitting there watching the blood coming out of his throat. that's a good kill when you're in bed. And I won't deny you, that kill of Johnny Depp is fantastic. But the kill I more associate with the Freddy, with that movie, is when Freddy invades his girl, the oh my god, the girl's dream, and drags her off the ceilings while the boy she slept with is simply just helpless. They're watching killed. That is more horrifying to me, because when that moment with Johnny Depp comes by, yes, it is a very good and creative kill. But at that point, we've already established Freddy as this terrifying menace going around. Has he hangs somebody in a prison cell, terrorizing people in their sleep. So that kill right there with Johnny Depp, that was just them going, all right, this is one, because after that, nobody else is killed in a spectacular way in that throughout the rest of the movie. At least with Jason Takes Manhattan, that knockout decapitation is at least is memorable of that film, because every other kill afterward is just simple like stabs and head smashed into walls and pipes. That KO decapitation is something that stays in a lot of people's minds. And also, that wasn't just a wig and a bloated like head. It was a mannequin doll that the actor himself keeps as a personal prop, and he actually showed that in an interview he did.
All right. We're going to go ahead and get into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start back up when the first person speaks.
So listen, right? I'm glad that you mentioned that other kill with the girl on the ceiling, because they actually used the same effect that they used in the kill that I'm talking about, and they're just two completely differently toned and, you know, visually interesting scenes, and it's the same effect, and they managed to use it twice for the same amount of money, presumably. That's pretty impressive. And you've got the Freddy one-liner, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy," on the phone. You know, they have that phone ringing motif that plays through the whole scene. It's just creepy. And then she tries to save him because she's heard it on the phone, but she can't get out because she's already locked herself in the room to protect herself. So this whole scene has just been bubbling this whole movie, and it's so effective, as opposed to cool.
Yeah, it sounds like that, and like I said before, that head decapitation is entertaining because throughout the whole movie of Jason Takes Manhattan, all Jason is just doing is slowly just stalking people. It plays into this whole character of him slowly stalking someone, moving like the mummy, and then stabbing them. And I said earlier on that I wish I would have loved to have seen Jason kill more people like that by knocking their heads off, just not to be thrown out of nowhere, but to really show exactly how hopeless it is to try to go against Jason. Sure, you can run from him. This scene throughout this whole film, Julius, when he learns his friends are being killed by Jason, he wants to take the fight to him, and so finally gets his opportunity. This is him just punching Jason, playing as a boxing match as he's pushing him closer, and knocking him towards the edge. But unfortunately, by getting Jason to that ledge, he is tired out. He can't throw any more haymakers. He knows it's over at this point. So he's going to be like, hey, I gave my best shot, so take it out. That's the one scene in this whole movie that really gripes me, why I say it's a great kill, because it took something that's from a terrible movie and at least gave you something memorable to where so many people in the Jason franchise still talk about.
See, all I'm hearing is that your kill ends with a thud and a, you know, which we've heard in every single one of those movies.
He's in New York, so you don't hear that theme.
Yeah, you hear it even if they don't play it in the movie. It's ingrained because it's the same thing over and over again. Okay, my kill is followed by an epic synth solo, which I guarantee you is completely different to every other epic synth solo from the 80s. Okay, doesn't matter that they're the same thing, they're all amazing. And this has just flavor and character, and it's just yours, for want of a better term. It's just blunt and to the point, and it might be more
some kills
efficient as a
need to be
kill.
blunt to the point. It stands the opposite of Freddy. That kill pretty much sets up Freddy throughout the rest of that franchise to where he's all flash, and no substance to where even films mock to the point to where, why don't you stop toying with me and kill me already? Because even in Freddy versus Jason, they make fun of that to where Jason kills more people than Freddy did. And all Freddy can muster up was one stylish kill by burning someone's back. That is a great kill. But one thing with Freddy that we do see is that him taking his time wanting to kill his opponent, kill his victims, just gives his victims more opportunities to fight back against him. So you get films like The Dream Warrior and Freddy's Dead to where people realize his shtick and they can easily beat him.
Look, if I die in a movie, I want it to be a flash and a bang, okay?
And time. All right. You have 1 minute left on the clock. Oh, with that said, Dean, you're back up first.
Okay, so like I was saying, it's a movie. You want it to be all flash. You know, I don't want my serial killers to have, you know, all this like introverted, you know, non-displayal of emotions. I want to see something happening on the screen. You know, I want blades, I want bodies, I want blood. I don't just want knuckles to a head. You know, you literally might as well just smash two rocks together and call it entertainment. I want to see something fun. I want to see something interesting. I want to get a cool, witty, stupid one-liner and a synth solo and a big gush of blood that would never happen in real life. You know, people lose their heads all the time, probably on the news. Time.
All right. I'll let the clock go down to 0 there. Ryan, once you are ready, time starts when you begin speaking.
A Woody one-liner and a synth solo. That sounds something that Iron Man would say. But look, it may seem very blunt and not very interesting, but it's something. It's a kill that's actually grinded to reality. At least, sure, it's still a little far-fetched to see someone knock someone's head off, but it also goes to saying that but there's so many shows and so many cop dramas where they talk about the science of how much force it takes to decapitate someone's head. And seeing this done in a horror movie over a character of Jason who's meant to be this undead ghoul who's a powerhouse is kind of something that I'm surprised it took this long for them to do, at least for a KO punch. With Freddy's whole thing is, I've said before, he is someone who gives you flash, but also no substance, to where the moment he finally does get a kill, it's easy in the narration for someone to wake up before he finally gets the kill on somebody. I'm just going to stop here.
All right. That is time. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the judges. The only fact check that I decided to look up here was how many decapitations are there. And thankfully, Wikipedia has a list of apparently everyone who has ever been decapitated. I'm sorry to those and the families. When accounting for every other country in the world except the US, there have been, if I counted correctly, 18 decapitations. And these are a mix of like publicly known executions back in the day, as well as like accidental deaths. Well, I guess executions that we would know, but I'm sure they did it way more. The U.S. has had, count with me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That was 3 and 1. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 decapitations, apparently. So the U.S. has had more than the rest of the world combined. That seems in line with the U.S. Again, apologies to your families out there. I don't mean to make light of your death.
USA.
Oh, now we're getting blackballed by more than just Tom Cruise. Richie, you are up first. With that said, who gets your vote?
We're number one. We're number one.
That's the best line of the show I've ever heard when I since judged the show. People lose their heads all the time, probably on the news. I love it so much. Anyway, but even despite all that, I still gave it to Dean. I think he gave a good argument as to why the Johnny Depp Freddy death is more creative and more spectacular and as a result more memorable. So I think.
All right, and then Chris, down to you.
I voted with Dean for originally, then I went with Ryan. I just felt he attacked Dean on that Freddy tormented victim that not like Trevor killed, like where Jason does quick and painless, a shot failure. But yeah, that's hit.
I've never heard anyone describe a horror film death as quick and painless, but there we have it. Austin, over to you then for the tie-breaking vote. Who gets it and what soldier?
Yeah, I love a good horror argument. This is fun. I've actually argued against one of these kills before. I'll tell you after which one I did. But yeah, I went with Dean. I thought he killed this one. I thought he went, no pun intended, but he got the ins and outs of the kills, went the behind the scenes, really the mechanics of it, and actually had a couple of good barbs against Ryan's point. So I went with Dean on this one.
All right. So, judges, thank you guys. I'll go ahead and sit you in the back as we go ahead and move on to question number 4. Dean, your first point in Movie Battleground. Enjoy it, because now you have to debate again.
The sad part is that after I submitted that, I end up rewatching the Chucky franchise, where I go, God damn it, I could have picked something from there.
Yeah, there's some good ones there.
There's an infinite number of films you could have picked from. Even Jason X probably has something that's worth throwing out there.
Could have got with Christian Bale's twin in The Prestige.
Well, that wasn't a horror film, unfortunately.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to question number 4, and we're going to be focusing on a franchise that has been in the news recently because despite the fact that a lot of people would have said that it was one of the best or more perfect trilogies of the 2010s, Planet of the Apes is coming back with a 4th film in the rebooted franchise titled Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It is currently in production. One of the children from It, Owen Teague, has been cast as the lead. He will be playing the grown-up son of Andy Serkis's Caesar character from those films, taking over as the lead ape. What is the name? Sorry? Cornelius. Yes, thank you. Taking over. And one of the things that I've seen a bit of discussion about on the internet is the choice of director, because replacing Matt Reeves, who directed the last 2 as director, is Mr. Wes Ball, whose only films have been the Maze Runner trilogy. Now, I personally think that those films, for what they are pretty solid films, and I'm excited to see him get the chance to kind of step up to a bigger stage. But there are a lot of people who feel that he may not have the right fit or pedigree to take on a franchise like this. So I threw out the question, who is your perfect choice to replace Matt Reeves for the next Planet of the Apes trilogy? And I have to say, we have 2 directors here who both have had ups and downs in their careers. I feel like we can say that publicly. But one has some great films in their tank, and the other is riding a real hot streak. So we will see who wins out. That said, Ryan, it will shoot back over to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Obviously, the bar that was set during the first Planet of the Apes film, it is definitely something that a director is going to have to try to meet, or at least rise up to the challenge. And my director, no pun intended for rise, my director I picked to direct the next Planet of the Apes film or trilogy is Joseph Kosinski. Now, this guy has plenty of experience working in films that uses heavy visual effects, which includes Tron Legacy, Oblivion, which was a sci-fi film he worked with Tom Cruise on, which he then later on ended up reuniting with Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick. Not as very visual effects heavy, but still was something that used a mixture of practical and visual effects. Put that aside, those films do a good job with character stories, all keeping us focused and the audience engaged with our protagonists. And seeing how well Top Gun Maverick is doing and how it's still going in the theaters, Joseph Kosinski is just another example of why he is a great choice to direct the next Planet of the Apes.
And that is time. Actually, fun fact, for this is obviously per the recording, not when this is released. Earlier tonight, my brother sent me a screenshot of the U.S. box office projections, and this is the first week that Top Gun is not in the top 10 at the U.S. box office. So it made its money. That said, Dean, over to you. Who is your pick? Chris, no one can read that. Why are you showing the board? Only I can read that. With that said, Dean, you got 1 minute on the clock.
Oh, I'd just like to point out first and foremost that Top Gun Maverick box office has no impact on this argument whatsoever. So don't even try and sink me, judges. All right. So my pick is Duncan Jones, who has had kind of a weird track record so far with making movies. But what this guy does, he doesn't just do like a generic fly by the seats, action, plane movie, or bike movie. Again, we're in this debate all over again. Okay, he does interesting, weird sci-fi twists. He does dystopia. He does, interesting new ideas. Even though his Warcraft movie didn't do that well, the one thing that people come away from that was how relatable he made the orcs, how well fleshed out their culture was, and that's exactly what he could bring to the Apes franchise. The visuals don't matter. They've got those apes on bank at this point. Let's be honest.
And time. With that, I think that's just called the zoo. I think that's just the zoo. With that said,
I think the PC term is wildlife preserves.
It's a cage.
Listen, I'm not appealing to PETA here. Okay, we're pissing everybody off tonight. With that said, Ryan, you are back on the clock, sir. 1 minute or 2 minutes. Excuse me. You get an extra minute. One ready.
No worries. I do want to jump back a little bit. I said Joseph, other than having experience working on visuals, Joseph Kosinski does great work with character stories. Now, you took a dig at Tron Legacy just being a light bite thing, but at the core of that film was a story between a father and son, of a son who lost his dad through unknown reasons. He gets sucked into the world of Tron that his father had been trapped in for over years. And then moving on to Top Gun Maverick, it may be such a simple, just a plain film, but once again, this is also, in a way, a father-son drama between Maverick and Rooster, who Maverick sees as a surrogate son. And it is a character drama. And the one thing that the previous Planet of the Apes became very much well known for under Matt Reeves was how it focused on the character drama of the apes with Caesar, Koba, and also with the humans may have not been that much important, but you do need to at least create enough drama and a very strong protagonist in your film in order for the audience to become invested in, to love for. And that's what Joseph Kosinski can do as a director, because not only can he work well with a leading man, whoever it's going to be, but he can also do well with a supporting cast. Because I'll tell you one thing, in Top Gun Maverick, not just Tom Cruise was a standout. You had John Hamm was a great standout. Miles Teller was fantastic. My God, the guy who plays Hangman was fantastic. I can only see his chiseled jawline. And then all the other pilots, who was Bob, Phoenix, Payback, Fair Play, and even Jennifer Connelly was great as a romantic interest. It is something that you're going to need for a Planet of the Apes film, to have a great ensemble in order to carry this film. And Joseph Kosinski has plenty of experience working with that. I'll rescind my time.
All right. And just in case it comes up, because I knew it offhand, Glenn Powell is the actor that plays Hangman.
I just remember that chiseled jawline every time he smirks. I'm like, you son of a bitch, you're teasing me right now.
All right. Well, Ryan's going to have 2 minutes to deal with that. Dean, you have 2 minutes to debate. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Right. So even though we're talking about taking the reins of a big franchise, okay, one of these two has only taken the reins and built success off of a big franchise. I'm talking Joseph Kosinski. He's doing, Tron, which is a cult 80s classic, and he's doing Top Gun, which is a just bona fide 80s classic. Those movies are going to make bank and do well regardless. Whereas Duncan Jones, like I said before, he's just more interesting ideas. He's edgier. He's outside of the box. And these Apes movies have proven themselves when they're not just being like, it would be so easy to just have them be these epic action adventures with monkeys and machine guns and all of this stuff. But it's so much more than that. It's about the interactions and the politics between, not only the humans and the apes, but the apes and the apes and the humans and the humans. And Duncan Jones has proved himself to do that stuff really well, even with something like a Warcraft, which a lot of people just thought was going to be a laugh right out of the gate. He's done time travel, which is something that is historically tied into the Apes franchise. He's got a good grip on all of this stuff. Joseph Kosinski can just make things look nice. And as I said earlier, they've got those apes. They just press a button and it just turns a person into an ape at this point. There's no benefit to be had there from having that guy direct those movies. You know, whereas somebody who really can work with a story and with his actors and really just do something that we haven't seen before and throw some twists in there to spice up your Hollywood blockbuster season, ladies and gentlemen. Time.
All right, that'll be it. We're going to be into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start back when the first person speaks.
Okay, first things first. They didn't just press a button and made someone into an ape. Andy Serkis and the team that he had did the physical work. I've seen the behind the scenes stuff. I've seen the training camp. They showed the training that they did in order to physically make themselves show the movements down, so then they can add that extra human element to be that you see in the apes. And as much as I kind of wanted to see a bit of the human element when he did Warcraft, honestly, as much as the orcs were relatable, who was the main orc that became the focus later in the film? Paula Patton in green makeup, not CGI down to look like an orc. She was meant to be a human-orc hybrid. At least with the new Planet of the Apes films, we're not going to see any human-monkey hybrids. We're going to see fully digital correct recreations of the apes that became beloved in the previous franchise. The previous trilogy, sorry.
This is what I'm saying, though. It's those orcs and all of that stuff is just really where we brought in, you know, all of the gravitas. And let's face it, there's not going to be a lot of humans left by the time we get to this apes movie. I would imagine probably not any, if we're lucky. You know, I want to see that. I want to see him build out, you know, what the new global, the new geopolitical landscape is going to look like, with all these different factions of apes, and you know, and maybe some scraggling by humans hanging in there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But Joseph Krasinski was just riding on the tails of Daft Punk, which is 90% of why that movie is good, and Tom Cruise in an aeroplane is 90% of why, you know, Top Gun we particularly
he worked with Tom
well
Cruise
liked.
before. He worked with Tom Cruise before in the 2013 film Oblivion, which was another.
Do you want to talk about Oblivion?
Yes,
you want to go down this road?
Oblivion. Yes, Oblivion may not be memorable to most people, but it was a film that was also outside of Tom Cruise's wheelhouse as well, doing a dystopian film where Tom Cruise is playing a character. Spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't seen the film. Turned out to be the clone of the person he was meant to be. And even then, it was a still straight character drama of one man trying to maintain whatever humanity he had. And that is something I can see Joseph Krasinski take in the new trilogy, to where maybe in this kingdom of the new apes, maybe the apes maybe have a disregard towards humanity, while the son Cornelius is trying to maintain what he learned from his father Caesar, and also try to balance in the geopolitical scheme. Not only Joseph Krasinski, he's done outside films, he's also done straight dramas like Only for the Brave, which was a film about firefighters. Firefighters, and then another one called Spiderhead, which featured Tom Holland and Chris Hemsworth. So he has experience working with megastars.
Man, you want to talk about megastars? That Spiderhead might have megastars in it. That is not a megastar movie. That is a direct-to-DVD bargain box Walmart kind of movie. Okay, everything Joseph Krasinski does, or Krasinski, doesn't matter. It's sterile. It's emotionless. I want to see a lived-in, green, brown, rugged, beautiful, natural-looking Earth with all these apes running around. I don't just want to see cold white surfaces.
I just don't think.
And that
Duncan
applies to the
Jones
emotions as well.
I haven't gotten many examples on what Duncan Jones can provide, honestly. With Joseph Krasinski, I was able to give at least plenty of examples on how he can do more than just work with the visual aesthetics.
And time. All right, so we got 1 minute left on the round for each competitor. Ryan, you are up first when you begin speaking.
Okay. I want to reiterate a few things I had brought up. Joseph Krasinski, he has experience working in character dramas. I mentioned the father-son dynamic that has been well done in both Tron Legacy and in Top Gun Maverick. I think he can bring something like that into Kingdom in the new Planet of the Apes trilogy. At least with the human element involved, because that's the one thing that he can bring from start to finish. And earlier on, Dean said the box office won't matter. Well, yes, box office may not matter, but when it comes to studios, when they want to look at a director, and sometimes they are going to pay attention not just on the work they've done, but exactly how much money they can bring in. Because at this point, directors have become a name brand recognition that will attract moviegoers to the theater. And then finally, I will say that. Actually, no, it's too long. I'll waste too much time, so I'm just going to rescind my time here. That may hurt me a little bit, but I don't want to go until the clock runs out, so I'm going to say time.
All right, so that'll be the end of Ryan's round. Dean, you have the final minute. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Yeah, talking about the box office, it kind of does matter, but also, you know, the legacy of this Apes franchise is like, with 3 successful movies, some people have gone as far to say that this is arguably the best trilogy that we've ever had, and they do not want to tarnish that. I think they would be willing to take a hit on the financial side to re-establish this new trilogy as something that's different and interesting and outside of the box, and isn't just a group of monkeys and a group of dudes running at each other in the same way that we kind of saw a lot, you know, before. And I love those movies as much as everybody else, but they are kind of samey. This needs to take some risks, and I think that will benefit this franchise, this long-lasting franchise since the 60s. It will benefit it in the long run and give us much more to play with overall.
And time. All right, guys, another excellent round. You guys have done excellent tonight. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back to bring in the judges to make their deliberation. Chris, up to you. Who gets the vote, and what was the selling point?
I went back and forth on this. I kind of went with Dean to the end. I think him bring up that, starting a new franchise new with, not having human ape, and him just tearing down Judge Grizzly a little bit, that talking about, just some of the movie that would have been, it was back and forth, but Dean wanted to the end.
Okay. Austin, down to you.
I kind of went the other way. I went with Ryan. I thought he really laid out pretty perfectly how, because it's his past filmography, he would pull from different things in that, each specifically from each movies, and the things he could bring along with the visuals and the drama, and really laid it out very well and had a couple of good counters. So I went with Ryan.
All right, and then Richie, over to you for the tie-breaking vote.
All right. But really good job by both guys. It's a great debut performance from Dean here. But yeah, and ultimately I went with Ryan as well. I just think he had good counterpoints to Dean's visual effects argument, and he really sold as to why his choice would be the better director. Even though I would like to see I definitely would like to see Duncan Jones take the mantle if he does. But I just think, in terms of the arguments, I think Ryan just had really good counterpoints, so he went with Ryan.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back because your winner by a final score of 3-1, it is Ryan Payne, the Caramel Mountain, coming out with the win. Ryan, congratulations, sir. A very well fought match. Definitely, I would say, an improvement on the first time around. I think you honed in some of the weaknesses that may have been there, strengthened up some of the arguments. I have to say a genuine compliment because even in conversation with you, you are a great speaker, but oftentimes you can go on for longer periods because you're trying to build and explain to your point. And I do have to give you credit. Like, this isn't a knock on you. You did an excellent job synthesizing things down and putting it into the time periods you needed. How do you feel tonight, man?
I do appreciate that criticism, man, because that's something I've also have an issue with myself as well. I used to think I had a good self-editing mechanism where I could stop myself so I don't ramble on. But I guess, being on so many Zoom, StreamYards, and just online chats, I tend to have just fallen back on that thing where I'm proning. But this was a good opportunity to go against Dean. I mean, yeah, he's brand new, so it was kind of like maybe I can finally see if I have improved against Alex. And from the many exhibition matches that I played in as well.
Yep.
I'm glad I improved slightly, but still, I'm going to need to still try to cut myself down a little bit, especially on my closing and opening arguments.
Well, absolutely, man. And you have one more match. You'll get, because you've won, you'll get one more chance at a match before the year's over. Who your opponent is remains to be seen, just based on the way the next couple of matches shake out for people. But what are your thoughts on getting to come back one more time, trying to end the year on a positive note, and just kind of any final thoughts for tonight?
I actually like that. It'll give me more opportunities to, maybe this time take my time when I choose an answer. And also, as much as people don't like the sayings like, oh, you shouldn't be talking to yourself. It's like, if I don't talk to me, then who else is going to? So it's time for me to start standing in front of mirrors or probably my phone up and, get back into the old acting habits to where I'm doing takes and like pretend I'm about to audition to practice my arguments.
Absolutely, man. As somebody who's taken speech classes in college and stuff, that's one of the things they do recommend is like, just even if you have no one to speak to, just talk, work it out, massage it a little bit. And again, you genuinely, sir, have put in a great performance tonight. And I do look forward to having you back one more time before it's all said and done for this year. So congratulations, and we will see you in the next match as I go ahead and sit you in the back and bring in your opponent. Dean, again, as well, compliments to you, sir. You did an excellent job for a first timer, especially coming in. A lot of people who have come into the Battleground and played are people who are very directly connected to like the fan league side of things. So there are people who are more used to coming on here and speaking and showing some sort of whether it normally trivia, but like they have that experience a little bit coming into it. They're not totally blind. Whereas, at least as far as I'm aware, you're not as connected as a lot of people are. I know you've made small appearances on things here or there, but certainly not to the way some people have. And I think you did a great job at kind of picking up the game. You could see from question to question how you were improving each way and kind of figuring out what worked and what didn't. How do you feel after all of it?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you say that. I appreciate that because I did feel like I was learning very on the fly and, and not in like a bad way, like on the back foot kind of way, but just very much like just observing and just feeling out what I felt was working and what wasn't working and, getting feedback from the judges and everything. That was really great experience. Ryan was really good. I enjoyed our opposing styles. Mine's a little bit rough around the edges. I'd like to think that I'd probably sharpen that quite a bit, if I was to get a chance to come on again. Definitely give me a chance to come on again because you definitely want to see what that looks like. So yeah, no, this was a great experience, and I don't feel bad about losing, which I thought I was going to feel bad about losing because yes, I did think I was going to lose, but I feel good.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, absolutely. My philosophy is once you're in, you're in. If you want to continue playing, you have a slot. Now, because we're nearing the end of the year in terms of production, with pretty much any other match that you would check out, this is the point where I tell someone because they have unfortunately lost, their year is finished. However, your year only got started tonight. And I think you did a great job. So if you would like, I'm going to give you the chance to get that second go of it early, and I will pair you up because we have another matchup coming up between two rookies, Sean Sandberg and Brandon Cohen, both of which have never debated. Whoever loses that match, so you guys are both 0-1, I will give you the opportunity to take them on before it's all said and done for the year.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's go. Power Ranger style.
All right. Well, I look forward to having you back. Thank you, sir, and we will see you next time. And guys, that is it on another match. Ryan Payne, a longstanding member of both our channel, the community, everything involved. It's, he came into Battleground a little later than the rest, but he's got that first win, and he should be feeling great going into that next match. And Dean should also be feeling great, man. We're in the midst of tournament season. We're in the midst of, all these top competitors playing each other. And sometimes when you're picking what matches to watch, it may leave that little bit of a feeling in your head of like, oh, it's two newer people versus checking out the match with like the guys who have won 4, 5, 6 matches. And tonight's match, I think, is legitimately an example of why, obviously time depending, every match is worth checking out because these two guys established themselves really well, and I look forward to seeing what they do next time they are back. With that said, though, thank you to my judges, Chris, Austin, and Richie. Thanks for being here, guys, and being a part of this match. Thank you for you watching at home. Please be sure to rate the video, drop a comment, interact with the channel, and subscribe for more Battleground because we have new matches every single week coming at you guys. And on behalf of everyone here at TMG Entertainment, Movie Battleground, my name is Aaron Knoll, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.